All right. I think for sake of time, just knowing from our experience in December when we attended the session at the library on this topic of AI, that there's a lot to cover. And given 1 hour, I realize that's not a great deal of time. And we'll want to kind of carve out a little bit of time at the end for some Q&A, if that's okay. But I want to welcome everybody. My name is Lori Wellner, and I'm with the K-State Extension Office in Wyandotte County. This is probably our 5th year in offering a special summer session through our PDC, which we really try to make known to the wider council and take that also into the community. So thank you for all who have joined us today. And we want to give special recognition to the individuals from the Kansas State University Library. And I have to tell you that it blew my mind in December under just realizing just the tip of the iceberg of what you all do. And to the capacity in which you do it. So that alone is interesting in and of itself. But we welcome Jason and Liva and Carol. And with that, I'll just turn it over to you all. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Lori, for inviting us today. So my name is Livia Olson. Actually, all three of us are science librarians here in Hale Library. My focus is on agriculture, and my background before I became a librarian was in horticulture specifically. So while we're all science librarians, we have a group in our library called the AI librarians or AI librarians, and Carol and Jason are also that type of librarian. So I will let them introduce themselves and tell you a little bit more about themselves.
Sure. So Carol Seven, I work with one of the departments that I work with here on campus is computer science. So I'm interested in AI from a technical standpoint, but I'm a public librarian at heart. So I am also very interested in how the public engages with tools like this, and also do a lot of work with news and media literacy in the community.
And I'm Jason Coleman. I am a liaison to several engineering departments, as well as biology and geology and statistics. And so what that means is that I go into classrooms and give guest lectures on how to do research, how to find credible information. And more that entails exposing students and faculty to AI as a useful tool. But beyond that, we like to talk to lots of different people about how they can be incorporating it into their own lives and the benefits that it might hold, as well as some of the risks and concerns that exist about that too. We tend to, as librarians, maybe somewhat stress those risks and concerns more than most people would. We'll try to temper that with a good balance, because I think there really is a good balance. And like any tool, it can do harm and it can do good. And you have to be aware of what the dangers are and how to avoid them.
So before we go any further, we have a document, a notes document, and we do this in a lot of the sessions that we do. I'm going to put it in the chat. And that's where you can take notes about what you're hearing and see what other notes other people are taking as well. So that you have a document that you can go back to later, and it also provides some of the links about the slideshows that we're using in this presentation. So I hope I caught you at the right point, Jason. It didn't like totally interrupt your flow.
Nope, that's perfect. Did you want to share this slideshow, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I can share it.
Okay. And I think people can probably see my Homer Simpson Pez dispenser. Or actually, that's not mine. That's my office mate's. But I like to have it in the background, just, I don't know why.
So there's the link again. So Jason and Carol are gonna sort of do an AI use overview for us real quick.
I think we're actually gonna get started with an example.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll stop sharing then and you can do that.
Sorry. And I can get started here, and Jason can direct me if I need direction.
You don't need direction.
Okay. So just to get started, I went to chatgpt.com, and when we first started doing these kinds of workshops, these interfaces were changing every day, and they still change quite a bit. So I'm gonna click here, stay logged out, and then ask it to, I'm gonna use the same prompt, but it's kind of neat to see if I
Can you
guess
increase the font size, Carol?
yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
I don't know if there's a way to by show of hands. Or in the chat, let us know if you've ever used ChatGPT, or if this is your first time. And you don't, if you want to do that anonymously, you can do that in the Google document, actually. So that might be a good place for this question.
Anybody? Chat.
Because I think for those, yeah, for those who have never used, this is for you. I'm just going to ask it to write a poem about county extension agents and community members learning about artificial intelligence from librarians. So there's a chat box here, and what I've just done is write something called a prompt, and then I'll send it, and it immediately goes to town, and it looks like it's making a lot of sense. It's making poetry because we see the elements of a poem, and I'll just read the first stanza here. In a small town where fields are wide and green, county agents gather, bright eyes keen. They come with questions, hopes, and eager minds to unlock the secrets of digital kinds. So this is a text generating form of artificial intelligence where you can communicate in text, but there are other versions, and we'll talk about those, or maybe, I don't know, we'll go and look at one. So this is Microsoft Image Designer, and it is image generating. So I can put text in the box here and get images out. So I'm going to ask it to draw an image to promote a workshop on artificial intelligence.
I think it's key to note that both of the tools that Carol is showing are completely free, and they don't require you to have an account with those tools.
And here, like on the landing page where I'm creating images, you can see some examples, and it shows you, when I mouse over, this tool will show me the example prompts, so the language that went into this box. So I'm going to ask for an image promoting a workshop on artificial intelligence. And I have to wait a few minutes. Try again. Ah, they got me.
Yeah,
All
this
right.
is a really good example of the freemium, the model that's being used, where you can do a little bit for free and without an account. And then to do more, you need to create an account. And if you want to do even more, you have to start paying. That's a very common model. You can use Gemini.
Okay, I had the Gemini open. Okay. So this is another tool that is actually multimodal. So it allows you to do both text generation and image generation with both of them being text prompted. And this one also has incorporated in the chat box a microphone, so you don't have to prompt it in just text. You can also prompt it in audio.
And that question in chat about it's creating these images, not just finding them on the internet, that's correct. And same with the text that Carol showed. So these are generating, in many cases, things that have never been created before. There's a lot of controversy about how they do this and whether they are ripping off other people's content. Um, we could go into more detail about that controversy if anyone wants to.
So it wasn't able to generate all 5 images, but it did manage to create 3 here, and it doesn't know how to count because there are only 2. So this is kind of fun to play with. I'm gonna let you play with that on your own, and Jason will continue the presentation.
Okay, great, thank you. I'll go ahead and share.
Oh, I'll also
Okay.
mention that the tools that I used, I'm not gonna put them in the notes because I think we have maybe it's gone. I'll put a handout link to our handout that we use for image and text generation workshops in the Google document.
Okay. So one of the most common uses is for entertainment, just playing around. It's a lot of fun. That's how I started using these tools way back in about March of 2023. And it's they actually are great at entertaining people and creating stories. Carol, one of the first things that I heard about her doing with it was creating a bedtime story for her child. And she created it in French because she wants to raise him multilingually. And sometimes we just run out of creativity about what we want to have. So this can do things just really quickly and generate a bunch of ideas, and it's phenomenal in that way. I wanted to start by talking about the current state of use of AI and a little bit about why people are excited about using it and why we really encourage you to explore using it, to talk to others about potential benefits of using it. And we think it would behoove you to maybe create some sessions for people in your communities to expose them to these tools and show them some basic examples of what can be done as well. So this is from the Pew Research Center, and they do many surveys of use of computer technology and mobile technology. And they recently did a survey, actually this is a little older, it's back in February, asking people if they've ever used ChatGPT. And as you can see, compared to July 23, when they did that survey last time, usage has gone up in every age group, especially amongst the younger generation, which I don't think any of us are surprised about. But it is charting up, and I don't know what the current data is as of right now, but I believe it would be a fair amount higher, especially since ChatGPT has made it possible to do this without an account and has released their very best model for free. Can we go up to the next slide? Okay, great, thank you. So this one, I just wanted to show the breakdown by type of use. It's being used increasingly for work, as you can see, and I have some more slides that will delve more into that in a minute. Can we go back? Thank you. It's being used to learn something new by a lot of people, and that's one of the use cases I like the best as a librarian when I go to talk to students about research, say in civil engineering. If I am talking about, or the teacher has told me they are designing some type of structure that I've never heard of, I will use ChatGPT or other tools to really quickly get a primer on that. Like, what is it talking about? What's the information here? It's really good at helping you just get started understanding a topic. And for entertainment, which we just saw. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Microsoft and LinkedIn. Microsoft owns LinkedIn, but they say this is a Microsoft and LinkedIn report that came out back in May, which really got a lot of attention. It's very interesting. So they did a lot of survey of many employers to see what they're doing, how they're using AI. Let's go to the next slide. And this is one of the big takeaways, is that according to their survey, 75% of people are already using AI at work. That doesn't mean they're all using it a lot or every day, but 75% of people use it at least occasionally. And that usage has really spiked in the recent past. Let's go to the next slide. This one is really what grabbed my attention and kind of blew me away. And let me just talk to you a little bit about this. So up at the top left, 77% of the leaders that they surveyed say that early in career talent will get greater responsibilities due to AI. Then the little chart below that is what amazes me the most. So 71% of leaders say they are more likely to hire a less experienced candidate with AI skills than a more experienced one without them. That's pretty attention grabbing. And the bigger chart, 66% of leaders would not hire someone without AI skills. So those people who are wanting to go into the job market or get a better job, this is important to start to become familiar with these tools. Let's go to the next slide. This one, this is a little complicated to look at, but if you look at the top, they basically broke down their respondents according to how much they use it and what their attitudes are about using it. And the green represents what they call power users, people who use it all the time, every day. And what's interesting is over on the right-hand side, they show some examples of how people are using it at work. And so, as you can see, the power users are using it for each of those cases much more than other people. But this is some of the ways, and I do some of these things too. I research and try new prompts. I experiment with different ways of using AI. And the bottom one is kind of really important. Before starting a task, I asked myself, could AI help me with this? And that's something that I would encourage all of us to think about. And more, the answer is yes, probably it could. And it probably could improve our creativity and the way that we approach the tasks that we would do. Now, it does have some weaknesses too, and you probably have heard about some of those, such as it makes things up. Um, it's not consistent all the time, and it can demonstrate bias depending on the data set that it was used to train it. Let's go to the next slide. This is talking about how people who are using it, how it impacts their work. And you can see here, power users, or many of them, are saying it helps them be more creative, it helps them be more productive, it helps them focus on the most important work. So a lot of benefits to that. Let's go to the next slide. So one of the places that I like to follow to get up-to-date information about what these tools are and what they can do is a blog called One Useful Thing by a professor at University of Pennsylvania named Ethan Mollick. If you were wanting to get into learning about this, I would suggest reading his blog, and you can do that for free. So go to the next slide. So this was a post that he did not too long ago about talking about what AI can do now. And I just want to, I'm not going to read this. I'm going to give a few seconds here for you to read what he is telling us about what AI can do as of a couple months ago. Okay. And if you go to that URL that I showed there, he provides links to the studies that are showing that data. This is an article, actually about a year ago, I think, which showed that AI GPT-4 was exceeding humans on tests of intelligence, of creativity, sorry. And let's go to the next slide.
Yep, that's
Okay,
me.
so that's you, but I want to just wrap up by my mom. I've been trying to talk to her about what AI can do, and she's pretty savvy with using computers, likes to use Excel. And I guess it's kind of mystifying to me. She's used it a little bit, but not nearly as much as I would, as I want her to, because I think this can enhance her her life in a lot of ways too. And I think that's true for everyone, especially when you're just mulling over ideas or you want to write an email and you want to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. It's really good at that. And I'm going to stop talking because Livia has a lot to share too, but we could talk at the end about other things that people can do with it and how you be able to use it yourself for your own benefit. Okay, Livia, over to you.
So I'm going to share a little bit about some of the work that we've done in connecting with different communities around learning about AI. So this is not the first time we've spoken with an extension group about AI. So we did a professional development workshop in December. More recently, this was just a couple of weeks ago. They were doing a livestock day camp in Wabunsee County and invited us to come over and do an activity with the kids at the camp. And so we did what we call an AI petting zoo, where it's like the different types of AI are your animals more or less that you're trying to learn how to use and get to know. And the kids were obviously really interested in animals, so they used the image generation to make a lot of animals. And this was my favorite animal that they made. Although a lot of their animals, they wanted to make mashups of like a dragon and a tiger or something like that. They had a really good time with it. And I hope they learned a little bit, because we also talked a little bit about how, you really want an expert opinion for some things, and AI is not an expert, and talked about who would be the experts if they asked a question of AI, what experts do they have in their life that they could go and talk to verify if the AI was correct. So we talked a little bit about that. For the agents that we talked to, they were really interested in things involving outreach and how it can help them streamline that process, especially when writing and promoting events and that sort of thing. And we also spent a lot of time talking about what people's hopes and fears were related to AI, because there's a lot that AI can do, but there are some things to be worried about as well. So we had a nice discussion about that. We present here on campus. We do text and image generation workshops fairly regularly. They're usually on Zoom. So if you wanted to attend a workshop that was focused only on that, I don't know if we have any on the calendar right now. But we do that. We do one about finding scholarly literature. We will go into classes and do that, but we also have ones that we do online. So Carol has taught with someone from the Writing Center a little bit about resume and cover letter creation for our students who are out looking for internships and jobs. And Carol, do you have anything to add about that? I feel like that was kind of an interesting experience for you.
Yeah, that was really interesting. That was actually my first experience having something very specific to try with AI. And one of the key takeaways was how important it is for a human who has a real life experience to be involved in writing a cover letter and resume. I read a lot of articles in preparation for that from people who were hiring managers who could easily tell when something had been completely AI generated with no editing, or chunks of text that were clearly not in one voice. And so the workshop that we did was mostly about technical writing, and my counterpart had a lot of experience teaching technical writing. So giving the students tips on how to think about their experience in very specific ways, and then using AI to help finesse things or to check them for clarity, or but my main experience in preparation for that was I copied and pasted a template resume from our career center, and then asked it to generate a cover letter providing the job description. So it had the resume and it had the job description, and I said write a cover letter, and it wrote a beautiful cover letter that I went through and highlighted all the parts that sounded like they didn't come from a student who would have had that experience, and showed that to the students. So it was a good example for me of how important it is for us to be there when when AI generates something. You need second look, third look, and a lot of editing.
Thanks, Carol. We've also spoken to our research deans, and there's a whole bunch of other things that AI librarians here have done. Is there anything else that you've done that I didn't mention that you want to highlight, Jason and Carol?
Yeah, so we've done some training with our Flint Hills Volunteer Corps, and they have a senior corps that's an AmeriCorps group, and they when we worked with them, we learned a lot about AI for accessibility. So I noticed somebody made a note in our notes about accessibility, and it was interesting to learn more about that application of using these tools also. In addition to the fact that it can translate different languages, it can also help people see things. You can take a picture and it'll tell you what's in the picture. So if there's a bunch of stuff on your desk, this is one of Jason's party tricks. He'll take a picture and it'll describe pretty well what is in front of it. So yeah, I don't know, Jason, do you have any other?
Sure. Actually, Livia and I were just at a conference and went to Universal Studios, and we saw some plants that we were trying to guess at what kind of plants they were. And so I took a picture. You can have ChatGPT app on your phone for iOS or Android, and there's a lot of other tools that you can download too. So I took a picture with ChatGPT and just asked it, what is this plant? And it gave us an answer that, I don't know. Actually, we didn't take the time to verify it, but
Well, it gave us two answers, and one was pretty close, and the other one
yeah.
As a horticulturist, I was less convinced of. I would have had to really verify that one.
Yeah, I think, well, if we'd given it more images, more like close-ups and from different perspectives, it may have, I don't know, probably would have been pretty good. But a really interesting use case is that if you're in, say you take a trip and you're overseas and you see a sign or something, you don't have any idea what it means, you could just take a photo of that with ChatGPT and say, what is this saying? And it will translate it to English for you. I got a gift from my mom and I had no idea what it was, what to do with it. I took a picture and it told me, oh yeah, that's what that is, and that's what that's for. I'm like, oh, okay, that's interesting. So and then we presented to the League of Women Voters a couple of times, and that focus of that was about some of the ways that AI can be used by bad actors to promote or perpetuate deep fakes or to scam people. And that's sort of the downside, is these tools are very powerful, but people are using them in ways that we are really worried about.
Yeah, so Jason sort of took me to the next slide. And the other group we've talked to, the American Angus Association, has a fairly large group of communicators within the different branches of that association. And so we did a workshop for them, and they were very interested sort of in the creative side of things. But also they had a lot of concerns about intellectual property, and copyright and those sorts of things, which is very understandable for the type of work that they do, and probably things that we should all be thinking about. So I just put another cute puppy dog picture in here that was generated by AI. So it wasn't a boring slide. So we've sort of talked about what we have focused on here in the library, and we're mostly focused on text and image generation, and that's pretty much what we're talking about today. But I think it's important to realize that AI is being used in lots of different ways in lots of different disciplines. It's being used in medicine for diagnosing conditions. There are lots of uses for it in agriculture as well as engineering. And not just self-driving cars. There's going to be other applications in engineering that are going to be using AI, and probably lots others that we could take a long time going through. But I think it's important to point out that it's not just text and image generation, even though that's what we're mostly talking about here today. So I think that takes me to the end of our slides. So I'm going to get out of the slides and we're going to do a little activity. So let me change what I'm sharing here, if I can, or I'll stop sharing for a minute, and reshare. We're going to go back to ChatGPT. And I'll make this a little bit bigger so everyone can see it. It's not. Carol, do you want to share yours instead and do the typing?
Yeah, sure.
Because it's not making the right thing bigger. Not sure what's happening. Okay, thank you, Carol. So what we're going to do is, since you are all interested in programming, I thought we would have ChatGPT help us make a program. And so that's what we're going to do. So we will take suggestions for if you have a type of programming you're interested in doing, what would the topic be? And you can put it in chat or unmute yourself and share that, and we'll use that as our example today.
Anybody have any program topics? Oh, Deborah.
Yes, you can definitely do that. So we were sort of thinking of something that was more of a program that you would need some sort of like agenda and activities for. I mean, I guess you could do it for a birthday party too. We could do a birthday party example.
I will say though, but the other part of that about it being able to find the picture.
Did you get her question, you guys?
So I'll read it out loud. I'm planning a birthday party for my mom. Can I ask AI to create a 65 birthday party invitation with blank, fill in blank with mom's name? Then we'll pull up her picture from somewhere and insert it into the invitation. So a lot of the tools can find images online, but the people who are making these tools are preventing them from doing some things to try to guard against privacy and other kinds of bad uses. And so I doubt that we could actually get it to find an image and put it into that invitation.
Yeah, I mean, you could make an invitation. It just maybe wouldn't be the way you're thinking of it. Like it would probably just be a picture of, balloons or something.
Do you want to try that?
Oh, we have one program for healthy eating for the Hispanic community in Wyandotte County. So I guess I have a couple more questions if you don't mind me asking them. So like, what is the age group you're aiming for and how long would this program last for? Would it be like a 1 hour program or a 2 hour program? Families with kids for 2 hours. Okay. So do you think you can make a prompt from that, Carol, to do an
Yeah.
outline?
Oh, actually, before you do that, I want to talk about one way to approach this.
Okay.
So ask it, tell it, well, it's good to say who you are. You don't have to give them a lot of information about you, but like what your role is. But also tell it that you are thinking about creating a program for healthy eating for the Hispanic community in Wyandotte County, and ask it to tell you what information it needs in order for it to do a good job of helping you.
Okay, so what is my profession? Should I be a nutritionist or a public health or an extension
Could be
agent specializing in nutrition?
our family and community, uh, yeah, that's right.
What was Jason, your idea of having a conversation with it about my experience, I'm gonna ask it to ask me questions to help me plan.
Yeah, I'd say I want to plan a program for healthy eating for the Hispanic community in Wyandotte County. Very good. And then what information do you need from me in order to help me make this program?
So this is pretty advanced prompt engineering, which is the words or the term used to interact with the AI. And Jason has a paid subscription, and I don't know what the difference is, but I feel like sometimes when Jason and our other AI librarian Alice do this kind of prompting, they get a little more back and forth than I do.
Yeah. Okay, so now tell it that you don't have any of that information. I mean, we probably do, but just for the
We don't
sake
have
of
it right
expediency,
here with us in order.
right? Yeah, can you just help me make a generic program? Yeah, that sounds good.
Can I ask it to leave blanks?
Yeah, you could. Yeah, sure.
Okay.
There's no rules. That's the thing about AI. It's just
It's trial and error.
try everything.
Oh, look at all those blanks. It did a good job. All right. So when we do workshops and people see things like this, sometimes they're like, oh, I want to copy and paste it. Well, it comes with a copy button right here. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to be annoying in the chat and just paste it so that you can see what
that
it's done.
annoying?
Oh,
Are you going to paste that whole response or just the URL?
I can't share URLs, I don't think, with the free version.
Oh,
I'll paste some of the response. There's a limit in Zoom.
you could put it in the Google Doc.
That's what I'm doing.
Oh yeah, okay.
So Carol doesn't have to.
Healthy food bingo. I want to know what that is.
Tell it to create the bingo card for you.
I think you can do bingo. That's cool.
So this is something we use as we're doing some other, they said a cooking demonstration or a presentation.
We have a quick question if it can be translated into Spanish, and I haven't done a lot of translation in this, but a lot of the AI tools do a pretty good job. So let's see how it goes.
Oh, yeah.
I think this is one of those cases where you're gonna want to check with a human who actually knows before you use it, for sure.
Actually, the way I like to do that is I ask a different AI model to double check it for me.
Ah,
But I don't rely completely on that. But that's
I think it's interesting that it got the some of the cultural information, like just from my first prompt just said Hispanic, and it's remembered that, and when we use language like remember or like we attribute human ness to it, but it's really just a word calculator, so it's just predicting the next most likely word or phrase in the sentence, and somehow it can do that with even these tables.
Carol, can you ask it to search the internet for a recent example of this type of programming? And I don't know if it can do this with the free version. It can definitely do it with the paid version. And it may make you do an account. Okay. Yeah, you can. Can you change the model from mini to something else up at the top left? Oh, I know. It makes you log in to do that.
No, I can
well,
log in.
Carol's doing that. Lori has a question. Is AI often used in writing grants? And that's an interesting question, because I think, yes, it probably is, but grant funding agencies are also starting to have rules about that, for both writers of grants and reviewers of grants. So that's something to be aware of. You know, if you're applying for a grant and they say that that is not allowed, then you shouldn't do it. But I suspect that a lot of people are doing it.
Marcia, I wondered about that.
Oh, that's interesting. So I'm still using just a free version, but I logged into my account and now I have access to it found some web pages that have examples.
Can you tell it to search only educational sites and sites find programs put on by extension agents?
So these are not links.
Yeah, tell it to give you the links. So this is what's like, sometimes it like wants to be lazy. You just, no, you can't be lazy.
We're starting to have some questions, so maybe we should move into question and answer time. So we have a question about what is the university's statement policy on the use of AI in general. I think they're still crafting that. The Teaching and Learning Center, was it last fall, came out with guidance for people who are teaching classes about statements to put in their syllabi to provide students with guidance. So there's that, but they are working on a university statement about AI right now, and I don't know when that will be finalized. The state of Kansas did come out with a policy quite a while back, but it was very vague, vague enough that I didn't find it helpful as guidance for how to proceed. And they may have come up with something better since then. Do you know, Jason or Carol?
I don't think they're gonna update it until something comes up where they need to make a decision and it's not providing enough guidance. But I don't know if they've updated it. I don't think they have.
I don't think they have either. Then we have a question. How much is the plus version of ChatGPT, Jason? I'm guessing you can answer that.
That's $20 a month.
So then back to the questions AI asked you to create the program. Could you have asked AI to find the data you were asking for, like population size and that sort of thing?
Yeah. I think, Carol, do you want to do that with the ChatGPT you're signed into? To ask it to find out about the Hispanic
Yeah,
population
when I
in
signed
Kansas
in,
City.
it lost track of my conversation. It started over again.
Yeah.
It doesn't know what's going on, but
Well, you could just ask it to find out about the Hispanic population in
yeah.
Kansas City.
I mean,
I think you'll spend my time with you.
And I want to mention that, so Carol's using the free version, and the paid version is much better than what this free version does. But free version is pretty awesome, as you can see.
So our next question is, at the end of this Zoom, can you have the AI summarize the meeting, highlighting the most important moments as if it were a business meeting for a corporation? Have either of you tried that, Jason and Carol?
Yeah, there are some specialized AI tools for that use case, and one of them is called otter.ai. I'll put that URL in the chat here. That's you can do a little bit for free, but if you want to do anything substantive, you'll need to pay for it. And to be honest with you, otter.ai, its ability to take the recording, the sound recording, and then transcribe that, it's okay. But it's not that great. ChatGPT is actually better. It does that really well, but it at this point will only do really short recordings. But Zoom actually has built-in AI, which well, we don't have that at K-State. They won't turn that on for us. But if you are using Zoom and you have the ability to activate their AI tool, that's exactly what it can do, is tell you what you missed. Say you went to the restroom and you come back. What was covered in the last 5 minutes, or what are the main points, or whatever. I haven't been able to play with it yet. I'm so frustrated. K-State's very cautious in their approach to AI.
I think there's also like, so sometimes when you're in a Zoom and whoever is hosting that Zoom has that, you'll see AI as one of the like down where you have the toolbar that has chat, and then it'll pop up a message that says AI is working on this meeting. There's also a tool in the innovation lab here on campus in Hale Library that's called Whisper AI that does the same thing as Otter AI, but it's free. And it's free to people who are using it there. It's an open source tool, I think. The setup is a little technical, so it's free to people who can do it technically. You have to host it on your own server. But if you have some transcripts or some audio files, you can bring them into the library and do transcriptions with that tool. And I don't know if that tool does summaries as well, but it's here.
So we have a few more questions. It was suggested to me to name my chat and give my first name to make chat more personal. Is there a benefit to personalization?
That's interesting. Yeah. ChatGPT and some other providers have implemented a system called long-term memory. If you have an account, where as you chat with it over time, it will remember things that you tell it about yourself. You can turn that off, or you could tell it, don't remember this, or take that out of your memory. But the benefit is that it can, when you're asking it to answer questions, it can remember a lot of details about you and try to customize that information for your specific situation. I, I find that beneficial. A lot of people are kind of creeped out about it. It's like, do we want these tools to know everything about us?
We have a colleague who uses it regularly in his work, and he finds it useful because he uses it mostly at work to tell it what job he has and what his tasks are in that position, so that he doesn't have to remind it every time he gets on the background information about his task. So a couple of the things about prompt engineering that are really useful are to give it some context, and the context of you are an expert resume writer, or you are an experienced extension agent, that kind of context, and then also give it really good directions. Those are two key points to getting a good response from it. And so if you pay for it and you use it regularly for the same tasks, like Jason mentioned, we use it sometimes to find background information on some of the research consultations that we get, then it can save a little bit of time. But it is kind of creepy to let it know stuff about you.
So are there any privacy laws attached to the use of AI? And as of right now, I don't think that there are any that are specific to AI. However, there are privacy laws that already exist that do apply. So both FERPA and HIPAA, you still have to abide by those laws when it comes to privacy about who you can release information to. Faculty have been instructed that they are not allowed to put student information into AI tools, and I'm not aware of what is happening in the medical community regarding HIPAA, but there's got to be discussions about that in that community as well. I suspect what will happen is they will probably develop their own tools within the medical community that abide by those laws, rather than using tools like ChatGPT that's open to everyone. What are your thoughts about that, Jason and Carol?
Yeah, I agree with you completely. A lot of businesses are putting stringent restrictions on their employees about what they're allowed to share. They don't want their data that's very valuable to get out. But as far as laws, yeah, I agree with you completely. Is the next question about GPT?
Oh, it's have you used the other GPTs created by ChatGPT, like Planty, Hot Mods, Creative Writing Coach?
Yeah, let me share my screen real quickly here. For those, just to give context about what we mean by GPTs. Oh, did I share the wrong screen? Sorry. Okay. So I have a subscription to ChatGPT 4, and over on the top left, you'll see that you can explore GPTs. And these are really interesting. A lot of people have been creating customized versions of GPT. Actually, that makes it sound more difficult than it really is. All they're really doing is creating like a huge prompt in the background, a really big prompt explaining when somebody interacts with you, you take on this role, you ask them these questions. I haven't created one myself yet, but I'm interested in doing it. But there are a lot of interesting ones out there, and people find them very valuable. I've used the citation copilot and vote tracker a little bit in the context of trying to help some faculty who are trying to do very specific things. So if you find some of them are really great, but some people are just not really putting much effort into creating them. I'd be curious for the person who asked that question, what you think about them. Oh,
So we have a couple more questions in just a couple of minutes. So how did AI originate? Actually, Wikipedia, I'm going to put it in chat, offers a fairly extensive history of artificial intelligence that probably goes back much further than what most people realize. It goes back, well, this history goes back to like antiquity and like when, you know, there was mythology around artificial intelligence, but really goes back to the 1940s in the computer science realm, so much further than what most people realize. And then our final question that we have is, will ChatGPT take minutes at a meeting in person if I turn the sound up? Will it take minutes? You would have to have a transcript, wouldn't you? So it couldn't like take minutes live is my like.
no, if it can hear, it can transcribe. Yeah. Yeah, like I have ChatGPT on my phone, I could launch it and I could say, you know, record, transcribe this meeting. And if it can hear well, it could do that.
But then you could also maybe prompt it, like if you're using like Robert's rules, you could tell it that you're the secretary for this meeting and you're using Robert's rules, and then feed it that transcript and ask it to make minutes.
Yeah.
I guess you could give it your agenda and the transcript.
Yeah, I'm trying it actually right now.
That's the kind of thing that I like to Google to see if somebody else has already developed the prompts for that. Because the best way to learn about good prompting is to learn from people who've spent a lot more time doing the prompting than you have.
Yeah.
Any final questions since we're now at 1 o'clock?
There's also, we forgot to mention that there are some inventories or some lists of tools that that are on our handout, I think, but there's one called There's an AI for that. So if you wanted to find a good minute taker, there's probably if you do a search on a tool list like that, you might find some specific software that's been developed using AI. Oh, there's a question, how would I Google that? I would Google
Please transcribe this meeting.
prompt, or let's see.
AI software.
Prompt engineering or prompt ideas for text generator.
Sorry.
Or I could tell it specifically what tool I'm using, ChatGPT. To what were we talking about? I guess to take minutes during a meeting of the meeting.
So somebody asked if we'll do a follow-up in 6 months. We could certainly do that, if you would like. We also have an AI symposium coming up in October. We did one last year as well. And a lot of those sessions will also be on Zoom, so you don't have to come to Manhattan to attend. So thanks for inviting us to be with you today, and feel free to reach out to any of us with any questions, further questions you have. Or if you have a group that would be interested in also doing some sort of workshop, we can work with you to figure out what that workshop would look like. Or we can train you to do your own workshops as well, is another thing that we can help with, so.
Well, and just to really, we thank you, all three of you for, you know, just joining us this afternoon, and appreciate your honesty and, you know, just the broad strokes view for those of us who just have a little bit of understanding. Apparently on this, there were other people had a little bit more understanding than what I do, but it's very helpful. I think, you know, when I was part of that training in December that you all provided, it again is excellent. And I think, you know, we kind of summarize the fact that this is not going away. And so we need to kind of figure out what our place is in the whole AI world and how to use it responsibly, I think. So we appreciate your information today and just joining us very much. So and thank you for sharing the information too. You'll be sending the PowerPoint, or is that what you said, Olivia?
Yeah, this bit.ly link I've been sharing has a link to all the slides and notes and links. So
Okay. All right. I think that's it. All right.
Thank
We
you all.
again.
I'll
thank
say
you.
one more thing is if you were overwhelmed today, and you want us to slow down, we can meet with you one-on-one and have a conversation about how to get started or where to start or what to try, or if you want to meet to do a specific kind of prompting. I think Jason and Alice are really good at that, but Livia and I can try.
Well, obviously interest is there, so we'll have to kind of reconvene and see how, you know, that we can meet that need, or if you share your information about the October event, that would be great as well. And if you could provide your contact information on what you're sending out, that would be very helpful too. For all three of you, that would be great. So again, thanks very much. And for all that have joined in this last hour, we appreciate your interest and your attendance. And with that, we will stop the recording and tell everybody